PsychoticKingAJ here, bringing you the second King's 10. I have to do 2 because I put up a vote and it tied. So what do we do because of a tie? We just do both videos here. More content means more things for you guys to watch. Today's second top 10 is top 10 gaming consoles. For this, we specifically looked at consoles, home entertainment consoles. So there will be no PC or handhelds within this video. Let's start the list off at number 10. Number 10 goes to the Wii. The reason why I love this console so much is because they targeted it towards family. It was great for the family to get together and play video games together. You had sports games, and then you had the classic Mario, Zelda games on the side as well. It also was one of the first consoles to encourage physical activity while playing video games. It encouraged movement and exercise. Number 9. Number 9 on our list goes to Sega Dreamcast. This was sadly Sega's last console they made as a company. The console itself brought us some of the best graphics we had seen at the time. It was really one of the first 3D models of games that we had seen. And the library for the Dreamcast was made huge, mainly because of their fighting games. You've got Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Ace Fighter. I mean, there was just hundreds of these games. And each one was pretty good. Number 8. PlayStation 3. So, PlayStation 3 pushed the PlayStation console into a major competitive spot in the console wars, as people like to call it. I disagree with the PlayStation 2 doing this because at the time the PlayStation 2 was still a very strong competitor, and it out of everyone I knew, no one really, everyone had a PlayStation 2. Right? Everyone had one. Nobody was fighting. There was no real war at the time of PlayStation 2. So PlayStation 3 is really what put PlayStation into the war. Number 7. Xbox One. This is Microsoft's latest console. The reason why it makes the list over the other console is the fact that they're not letting it die. So we had the Xbox One, and then shortly after, they gave us the Xbox One S, which is Gen 2. But the content was still the same. The games were still the same. The difference was a better graphics processor and, better speed time, better run time, stuff like that. And then they bring us the Xbox One X, which is the 4K machine. So Microsoft is not letting the Xbox One die, which I love. There's talks right now of the PS5 coming out, and Xbox is currently at the point of time where they're like, we can just keep with Xbox One if we improve it, but keep the games. People are just going to upgrade their consoles instead of having to completely redo an entire library of games. And this also lets them extend the library of games they're able to have. As we've seen at Xbox One's launch, there wasn't really a big library for it. Neither was there for the PS4, and it just seems the libraries are just now, this is what, 3 years after launch, 4 years after launch, the libraries are just starting to get kind of big. Whereas Xbox, I'll talk about that later actually. Number 6, PlayStation 2. This was probably, well, this was the first console that actually had a multiplayer aspect online, which was shaky at best. But remember, when things just start, they're always going to be shaky. We've witnessed this with tons of games that launch and stuff like that. The library for the PlayStation 2 was just, even at launch, was huge. They launched the PlayStation 2 and games were just coming out left, right, and center. We had a new PlayStation 2 game, a couple of them coming out each week. See, there was always content to play, and again, first console to allow online. I owned a PlayStation 2. The first game I remember playing online with other people was Resident Evil Outbreak. I'll talk more about that game at another point, another list. But PlayStation 2 is number 6. Number 5, the N64. The N64 was an upgraded console to the classic Nintendo systems. It brought our heroes into a 3D aspect for the first time. And it did it so stunningly and so perfect that each game they brought out looked beautiful. There's not much more I can say about the console because it's, as an older console, most people know about it. So, but the reason why it's so high and ranks number 5 on the list is because it was the first time we got to see our heroes in 3D, running in a 3D atmosphere. Number 4, the Xbox 360. Now, the Xbox 360 had a huge library when it died. It was, its graphics were pretty good for the time it was released. The graphics card was well developed, and they let the console live as long as they possibly could. Which is another reason why we had such a great library for it. But the main reason why it ranks number 4 on this list is because it was the first time, and we've really only ever seen this with Microsoft, that they took the gaming console and the power of the gaming console and adapted it to home entertainment system. Not only could this thing play games, but it could access the internet, it could do YouTube videos. They had their own set of apps for it. Microsoft had their Groove system on there for you to listen to the stream, the libraries of music. And, of course, you had the other apps that now each console has, like Netflix and YouTube and stuff like that. Coming off a brief pause there, little technical malfunction, we're going to start this list off. Number 3, the NES. Man, do I really have good nostalgia about this console. The NES was innovative. It gave us a huge collection of heroes that Nintendo has continued on with to this day. We've got people now like Mario, Link, DK, Diddy Kong, and the N60 or the NES was the main reason for this. They brought it over, and people in America just ate it up. Number 2, the Atari 2600. This is the most widely known Stage 1 console. It was your classic 8-bit, you're just... I don't even know how to describe it. If you've never played an Atari 2600, I would suggest trying to find one, because this is the birth, really the birth of the video game home consoles. Yes, this is, I understand this is not the first console that was ever released, but this was the most widely known one. Atari beat out Magnavox. It's just the way it is. I've done my research on it. I understand, you know, personally, I've owned both. Personally, in my mind, the first gaming system for home was the Commodore 64, but that was a computer. This is a console. And always, the Atari 2600 is always great for going back to and just getting that little touch of nostalgia. We've seen people want this with remastered games, but nothing beats going back to that classic, you know, Pitfall, Centipede, Frogger, and who can forget the greatest game of all time, E.T. Yeah, E.T. That's a story for another day. Number 1. Call me biased, but I gotta give that number 1 spot to the first game console I ever owned. Sega Genesis. It's just... I have so many good things in my heart about this console. It brought us Sonic the Hedgehog. It brought us other great games. It had an extensive library. Its lifespan was pretty long. They innovated it by giving it the extra add-ons that you could go out and buy. Sorry. I mean, at the end of the Sega Genesis, your Sega Genesis, you had it, the console was this big. If you bought all the add-ons, your console ended up being this big. There was the Sega CD that it wasn't even its own console. It was just an add-on to the Sega Genesis. The Sega Mega Box, the Sega 16-time whatever that brought your games from the 8-bit to the 16-bit. Like, it was crazy. But honestly, it is probably one of the best consoles ever made. I may be biased on that, but I can't get over it. I own, to this day, every console almost. Other than, I don't have an Xbox, I don't have a PS3, and I don't have a PS4. Those are the only consoles I don't own. So, Sega Genesis is, out of all the consoles I own, Sega Genesis is my favorite. Well, that's all I got for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more videos you'd like to see on King's Top 10. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Twitter to make sure you keep up to date on polls and when content's going to be released. And that's it for now. I hope you had a great day. I hope you had a fun time watching this list. Psychotic King AJ.